"You are my best friend," Sofia's talking doll chirped, its plastic smile fixed. Elena, bone-weary after her night shift, absently squeezed its plush body one last time before setting it on the cluttered nightstand. Her fingers brushed against a tiny, rolled-up paper hidden within a loose seam, revealing a string of seemingly random numbers and letters. The aroma of stale coffee did little to cut through the exhaustion clinging to Elena like a shroud. In the dim light of her sparse kitchen, the cryptic note felt like a cruel joke from her past. 3 months had passed since the divorce papers were finalized, leaving her with Sofia, a mountain of debt, and the bitter taste of Miguel's supposed financial ineptitude. He'd always been a dreamer, not a doer, a man who'd talked big about inventions but consistently failed to make ends meet. How could this string of numbers, so precise and deliberate, have come from him? The thought was almost laughable, yet a tiny, insistent voice in her mind refused to dismiss it entirely. Driven by that flicker of curiosity, Elena found herself hunched over her ancient laptop, the glow illuminating her weary face. Her small desk, usually buried under medical textbooks and overdue bills, became a makeshift command center. With the methodical precision she applied to patient charts, she typed the string of characters into search engines, exploring every permutation. Initially, the results were a jumble of unrelated data, but her nurse's mind, trained to spot patterns in chaos, persisted. A sequence of numbers, when paired with specific letters, began to suggest a format. Not a phone number, not a bank account she recognized, but something more complex. Offshore accounts. The phrase, once abstract, now resonated with a chilling possibility. Miguel? Broke? Or Miguel, try sheer hiding money? The thought sent a jolt through her, a mix of apprehension and dawning wonder. Her search led her down a rabbit hole of obscure online forums, digital havens for those who spoke in riddles about wealth management and international finance. One, titled The Unseen Currents, seemed to hum with a clandestine energy. Elena, using a burner email, posted an anonymous query, carefully rephrasing the cryptic message. The replies were sparse, but one stood out. "Be careful, friend. Read the message, devoid of any identifying details. Some powerful people don't like their secrets exposed, especially when those secrets involve the kind of money that makes cities run or crumble." A cold shiver traced its way down Elena's spine. This wasn't just about Miguel's money. It was about something far more dangerous. The harsh, fluorescent lights of the hospital cafeteria seemed to amplify the gravity of Elena's words as she spoke to Dr. Alvarez. The older physician, a man whose kind eyes held a lifetime of quiet observation, listened intently, his coffee growing cold. "This isn't just some random sequence, Elena," he said, his voice low, almost a whisper. "This code, it hints at structures used by the truly powerful, the kind of people who operate beyond the reach of conventional law." He leaned closer, his expression grim. "There have been whispers for years, a shadow organization, pulling strings in the city. They call them the Blackwood Syndicate." Elena's breath hitched. The name, spoken aloud, felt like a physical weight. Her ex-husband, the feckless inventor, somehow entangled with a cabal that sounded like something out of a crime novel. This was no longer about child support or a hidden nest egg. This was a rabbit hole leading into the very heart of the city's darkness, and she had just taken the first terrifying step. Elena clutched the cryptic note, its numbers and letters a burning question in her mind. Her first stop, the city's financial district, a maze of glass and steel that felt alien to her world of sterile hospital corridors. The records office was a dim, dusty cavern filled with towering filing cabinets and the drone of ancient air conditioning. She approached the counter, the clerk a polite but firm barrier. "I'm looking for financial records, specifically offshore accounts, linked to a Miguel Ramirez." The clerk's smile didn't reach his eyes. "I'm afraid that information is highly confidential, ma'am. We can't just hand it out." Elena pressed, mentioning the specific string of digits. He tapped a few keys, then shook his head. "Nothing. No such accounts in our public records. Perhaps you're mistaken." But as he spoke, Elena, with a nurse's trained eye for anomalies, noticed the subtle flicker in his gaze, the way his hand briefly covered a small, temporarily closed sign on a nearby door labeled International Assets. Someone had definitely been here before her. Someone had already swept the trail clean. The city lights blurred as Elena drove home, the clerk's evasiveness a bitter taste in her mouth. She pulled into her usual spot outside the apartment building, the engine's purr suddenly too loud in the late-night silence. Her phone vibrated. An unknown number. Hesitantly, she answered. A garbled, disguised voice crackled through the speaker, chilling her to the bone. "Drop it, Elena. Forget Miguel's games. Some secrets are best left buried." The line went dead. Her breath hitched. Miguel's games? This wasn't a game. Her hands trembled on the steering wheel, the cold plastic suddenly clammy. Then she saw it. A dark, unmarked sedan, parked 2 blocks down, its headlights off, a deeper shadow against the already dark street. Her heart hammered against her ribs. They weren't just watching. They knew. A surge of primal fear, hot and sharp, coursed through her. Sofia. They couldn't touch Sofia. The next morning, driven by a desperate need for answers, Elena found herself outside Miguel's old apartment. The landlord, a harried woman with a sympathetic sigh, let her in. The place was cold, impersonal, stripped bare of all the life they had once shared. Dust motes danced in the slivers of sunlight that pierced the grimy windows. Elena moved through the empty rooms, a ghost in her own past, searching for anything. In his small study, where he used to tinker with obscure electronics, she ran her hand over a loose baseboard. It shifted. Behind it, a hidden compartment. Inside, a single leather-bound journal. Miguel's precise, almost obsessive handwriting filled the pages, detailing his growing unease with the Blackwood Syndicate, their pervasive corruption, and his meticulous plan to expose them. He mentioned a failsafe, a key he'd left behind should anything happen. Elena's eyes burned. Miguel wasn't just broke. He was a man with secrets, a man who had anticipated this moment. Miguel's journal entries led Elena to Mr. Thorne, his former lawyer, now a prominent figure representing the city's wealthiest elite. Thorne's office was a stark contrast to Elena's life, all polished marble, muted tones, and silent deference. Mr. Thorne himself, impeccably suited, regarded her with a condescending smile. "Ah, Mrs. Rodriguez, I understand you have some fanciful notions about Miguel's finances." He dismissed her claims of hidden accounts and conspiracies as grief-induced paranoia, a sad consequence of her recent divorce. Elena's jaw tightened. "My notions are based on facts, Mr. Thorne. Facts Miguel left behind." His smile never wavered, but his eyes, sharp and calculating, darted to the cryptic note she held, then quickly away. He was nervous. Elena saw it, a tiny crack in his polished facade. He might be a legal shark, but she was a nurse who saw through people's defenses every single day. Back in her apartment, the day's revelations weighed heavily. Elena tucked Sofia into bed, her daughter's soft breathing a comforting rhythm against the chaos in her mind. She watched Sofia sleep, the innocent rise and fall of her chest, her tiny hand clutching a worn plush toy. The anonymous call, the shadowy car, Mr. Thorne's evasiveness, it all coalesced into a terrifying certainty. They were coming for her, for the information she held, but they wouldn't touch Sofia. "I promise you, mi amor," Elena whispered, her voice fierce with a mother's resolve. "I won't let them." Miguel's journal entry about a key echoed in her mind. Was it the note she'd found in the doll? The string of numbers and letters, now clutched tightly in her hand, felt heavier than before. It wasn't just a clue, it was a weapon, and she was ready to use it. The aroma of burnt sugar and stale coffee hung heavy in the air of the daily grind, a nondescript coffee shop chosen precisely for its anonymity. Elena clutched her lukewarm mug, her gaze darting nervously to the door, then to the older man Dr. Alvarez had introduced as Director Vargas. He was sharp, with eyes that seemed to take in everything and betray nothing, a stark contrast to Elena's weary demeanor. Alvarez, ever the calming presence, sat between them, a silent bridge of trust. "Ms. Rodriguez," Vargas began, his voice low but precise, cutting through the cafe's murmur. "Dr. Alvarez tells me you've stumbled onto something significant. Something concerning the Blackwood Syndicate." Elena felt a jolt. The name, whispered in hushed tones online, now spoken so casually by a federal agent. I have some information," she admitted, her voice cautious. She slid the cryptic note across the table. Vargas picked it up, his gaze intense. "This syndicate operates deeper than most realize, Ms. Rodriguez. Ruthless, connected. They don't tolerate loose ends." Elena's heart pounded. This wasn't just about Miguel's hidden money anymore. This was a force. The sterile silence of Director Vargas's hidden office was a stark contrast to the coffee shop's gentle hum. Elena stood before a massive digital map of the city, projected across an entire wall. It wasn't just a map. It was a living, breathing diagram of corruption. Glowing red lines connected luxury high-rises to dilapidated warehouses, political offices to offshore accounts, prominent businesses to shadowy shell corporations. Every red line, Vargas explained, his finger tracing a particularly dense cluster of connections, is a thread in the Blackwood Syndicate's web. They own this city, Ms. Rodriguez, from the mayor's office to the concrete supplier for our newest hospital wing. Elena felt a cold dread creep up her spine. The sheer scale of it was overwhelming. Her hand instinctively went to her chest, a familiar tightness forming. Every face she'd seen on the news, every politician, every respected CEO, could they all be part of this monstrous network? It was an invisible illness, permeating every artery of the city, making it impossible to know who to trust or where the rot ended. She felt a chilling sense of claustrophobia. Vargas turned from the map, his expression somber. "We believe your ex-husband, Miguel, wasn't broke, Ms. Rodriguez. He was an undercover informant." The words hit Elena like a physical blow. Her mind flashed back to Miguel's easy smile, the way he'd playfully chased Sofia through the park, his seemingly carefree attitude about money. Flashback. Miguel, laughing, spins Sofia high in the air, her giggles echoing. Elena watches, a soft smile on her face, before Miguel pulls them both into a warm embrace. Back in the present, Elena's vision blurred. Guilt, sharp and sudden, twisted in her gut. All those arguments, all the resentment over his supposed financial ineptitude, it had all been a front, a necessary cover. He was meticulously gathering evidence. Vargas continued, oblivious to Elena's internal storm. For years, he was close to exposing them. Elena swallowed, her throat tight. "His disappearance," she whispered, dread filling the void where anger had once been. Vargas nodded grimly. "We believe it was a forced one. Possibly murder." Elena's world shattered, then reformed with a cold, hard resolve. Miguel wasn't a failure. He was a hero. And he had been killed for it. Her grief ignited into a scorching, unyielding fury. Back in her cramped apartment, with Sofia sleeping soundly in the next room, Elena spread Miguel's journal and the doll's cryptic note across her small kitchen table. The numbers and letters, once a random jumble, now pulsed with new meaning. Miguel, the methodical engineer, the man who always had a plan. He hadn't left her with nothing. He'd left her a map. She reread the journal entries, her fingers tracing Miguel's precise handwriting. Failsafe initiated. Should I vanish, the key must find its way to Elena. Her intellect will see what others miss. Asterisk. The key. The note. The numbers. Elena's eyes narrowed, a new sense of purpose hardening her gaze. She pulled out her laptop, her fingers flying across the keyboard. The numbers weren't random. They were coordinates. Coordinates to a hidden location, a secure server. Miguel's final message, meticulously woven into the fabric of her daughter's favorite toy, a breadcrumb trail to a hidden truth. The blueprint of an abandoned warehouse glowed on Vargas's screen, a stark contrast to the sophisticated equipment filling his office. "This is it, Ms. Rodriguez," Vargas said, his voice grave. "Miguel's secure data center. His failsafe." Elena nodded, a knot of fear tightening in her stomach. "How do we get it?" "It won't be easy," Vargas warned, his eyes meeting hers. "The syndicate knows Miguel had something. They'll be watching for any attempt to access it. This mission is extremely dangerous." Elena looked at the blueprint, then at Vargas. The threat, the shadowy car, the anonymous call, it all made sense now. Miguel had been protecting them, even in death. And now, She had to protect his legacy. "I'm in," Elena said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "For Miguel. For Sofia." Vargas studied her, a flicker of respect in his sharp eyes. The night shift nurse, once a victim, was now a warrior. The hunt was about to begin. The night air was a cold shroud as Elena Rodriguez, a nurse by trade but a warrior by necessity, slipped through the broken chain-link fence. The dilapidated warehouse ahead, a hulking shadow on the city's outskirts, looked every bit the abandoned relic it pretended to be. Director Vargas moved with silent efficiency, a small FBI team fanning out around them. "Stay close, Elena," Vargas whispered, his voice a low rumble. "Your eyes are our guide." Elena nodded, her flashlight beam cutting through the gloom, tracing the cryptic symbols Miguel had etched into her memory. Her nurse's precision, honed by years of meticulous care, now guided her through debris and rusted machinery. They found it, hidden behind a false wall, a sleek, metallic panel, a biometric lock. "Miguel," she breathed, a quiet triumph in her voice. He always thought ahead. The lock required a unique sequence, a rhythm of touches only she, and perhaps Miguel, could know. The hidden data vault was a stark contrast to the warehouse's decay, pristine, sterile, humming with the quiet power of advanced technology. Elena's trembling fingers, guided by Vargas, touched the central console. A soft chime, then screens erupted with a torrent of information. Terabytes of encrypted data began to upload with astonishing speed. Financial records, shell corporations, illicit deals, political payoffs, connections to criminal organizations that spiderwebbed across the city. Elena stared, a growing awe mixing with a sickening dread. "My God," Vargas murmured, his face illuminated by the scrolling data. "This is it. Ironclad. Enough to bring down the Blackwood Syndicate entirely." But his expression hardened. "And the tripwire just activated. They know we're here." A silent alarm, Miguel's final gambit, now signaled their presence to the very forces they sought to expose. Elena's relief curdled into renewed urgency. They had the evidence, but now they had a target on their backs. Outside, the night exploded. Radio chatter became a desperate cacophony. "Director, we have hostiles! Heavy resistance!" Agent Miller's voice, strained and urgent, sliced through the comms. "Syndicate enforcers are surrounding the perimeter!" Gunfire erupted, a deafening symphony of automatic weapons and shattering glass. Flashing lights painted the warehouse exterior in strobing reds and blues. Silhouetted figures moved with ruthless efficiency, their objective clear. Explosions rocked the foundations, sending dust raining down inside the vault. "They're making their move," Vargas yelled over the din, pulling Elena back from the console. "They're not trying to get the data, they're trying to get... Toss." The FBI team outside was pinned, overwhelmed. The mission had just pivoted from covert retrieval to desperate survival. Elena and Vargas retreated deeper into the vault, Miguel's foresight now their only shield. The reinforced doors slammed shut with a hydraulic hiss, muffling the chaos outside. This wasn't just a data storage unit. It was a bunker, a secure sanctuary with independent air supply and thick, blast-resistant walls. Elena's eyes scanned a hidden control panel Miguel had installed, its holographic interface glowing. "He built this," she said, a flicker of pride in her voice, despite the danger. "For exactly this kind of scenario." With a nurse's intuitive understanding of systems and a mother's fierce drive, Elena began to work. She activated a decoy protocol, sending false heat signatures and audio signals to another section of the warehouse. "They'll think we're elsewhere," she explained, a grim satisfaction on her face. Vargas watched, a grudging admiration in his eyes. "Miguel was brilliant," he conceded. "But you, Elena, you're learning to play his game." A crackle on a captured syndicate radio cut through the bunker's controlled calm. A cold, imperious female voice filled the air, each word a chillingly precise cut. "Neutralize them. I want no witnesses." Vargas's jaw tightened. "Eleanor Blackwood," he hissed. "The matriarch herself." The voice continued, casually mentioning Miguel. Ramirez's unfortunate accident was a necessary inconvenience. This one, however, is a direct threat. Elena's blood ran cold. Zolo Mamon's accident. The word, so glibly spoken, confirmed it. Miguel hadn't just disappeared. He had been murdered. A searing wave of grief washed over her, quickly hardening into a molten core of rage. Her hands clenched into fists, knuckles white. The Blackwood Syndicate hadn't just taken her husband. They had stolen her future, tormented her present, and now threatened her daughter. Elena looked at the screen, at a file photo of Eleanor Blackwood's composed, cruel face. "You will pay," she whispered, her voice a promise forged in fire. "For Miguel. For Sofia. For everything." On the data vault's primary monitor, Elena watched the frantic chaos outside. Syndicate enforcers, a faceless wave of black-clad figures, swarmed the warehouse. But then, a figure emerged from the shadows, illuminated by the flashing strobes of an FBI agent's fallen tactical light. Elena's breath hitched. It was Dr. Anya Sharma, the FBI's seemingly respected forensic pathologist, her face chillingly calm as she gestured, directing the syndicate goons with an almost clinical precision. She was pointing, leading them, straight towards the reinforced wall of Miguel's vault. The sick feeling in Elena's stomach was instantaneous, profound. Sharma, the mole. The realization hit like a physical blow, a betrayal so deep it stole her voice. "She's guiding them," Director Vargas muttered, his jaw tight, confirming Elena's worst fears. Then, over a static-laced channel on a captured syndicate radio, Sharma's voice, crisp and chillingly dispassionate, cut through the din. "The vault's integrity is compromised. Prepare the gas canisters. We'll introduce a specialized neurotoxin through the ventilation system. Deaths will appear as accidental exposure or stress-induced cardiac arrest due to the warehouse's structural collapse." Elena's blood ran cold. Accidental exposure. Job, stress-induced cardiac arrest. The words echoed in her mind, a horrifying premonition. This was how Miguel had died. Not an accident, not a heart attack. Sharma had orchestrated it, making his murder look natural, just as she planned to do to them. Elena's hands clenched, knuckles white. The fury was a cold, hard knot in her chest, replacing fear with a burning resolve. "She won't get the chance," Elena declared, her voice rough with a newfound resolve. She remembered Miguel's journal, his cryptic notes on internal threats and preventative measures. Her eyes scanned the vault's control panel, a blur of holographic interfaces. There, a submenu labeled Anti-Infiltration Protocols. Elena's fingers flew across the shimmering surface, a nurse's precision translating into a hacker's speed. Miguel designed this for betrayal, she explained to a stunned Vargas. He anticipated a mole. With a soft whir, the vault's auxiliary systems hummed to life. A neutralizing agent began to circulate through the ventilation, countering Sharma's deadly gas, while heavy, silent shutters slammed into place, sealing off every potential entry point the syndicate might exploit. A glimmer of hope, hard-earned and defiant, ignited in Elena's chest. "That buys us minutes, not hours," Vargas warned, his eyes darting between the monitors and Elena. "We need an exit." Elena nodded, already moving. Miguel always had a backup for his backups. She pulled at a section of the vault's floor, revealing a narrow, dust-choked tunnel. "Emergency extraction," she explained, descending into the darkness. Vargas followed, his weapon raised. The passage was tight, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and forgotten metal. Flickering emergency lights, installed by Miguel, cast long, dancing shadows. The tunnel sloped downwards, leading them deeper beneath the city, away from the immediate danger, towards the forgotten arteries of the old subway system. The derelict subway tunnels were a labyrinth of shadow and decay, a forgotten underworld where the city's pulse was a distant hum. But the syndicate wasn't far behind. Elena heard the faint scuff of boots, the crackle of a distant radio. Sharma and her enforcers were relentless, using thermal imaging and sound detection to track them. "They're gaining," Vargas grunted, sprinting ahead. Elena, however, knew these tunnels. Her night shifts had often taken her through the city's forgotten corners, and her nurse's mind, always mapping, always observing, had absorbed the city's hidden infrastructure. "This way," she called, veering sharply into a narrower passage. She kicked over a stack of rusted barrels, sending them clattering down a side tunnel, a momentary diversion. The cat-and-mouse chase was on, deep beneath the city, Elena's wits against the Syndicate's ruthless hunt. The stale, metallic scent of the abandoned subway tunnels clung to Elena, a stark contrast to the sterile hospital air she was used to. Director Vargas, a silent shadow ahead, suddenly paused before a grimy electrical panel. It looked ordinary, rusted, forgotten. But Elena, her nurse's eye for subtle irregularities honed by exhaustion and fear, noticed the faint, almost imperceptible seam. Vargas's hand, surprisingly gentle for a man of his build, traced the outline. A faint click, and the panel swung inward, revealing not wires, but a sleek, reinforced door. "Miguel," Vargas breathed, a note of awe in his voice. Inside, the world shifted. Gone were the grime and shadow, replaced by a cool, clean space humming with quiet power. Glowing computer screens lined one wall, rows of encrypted servers hummed softly, and neatly stacked supplies filled the corners. This was no mere hideout, it was a fortress, a sanctuary designed with meticulous, almost paranoid, precision. Elena felt a wave of relief so profound it almost buckled her knees. Miguel's genius, his foresight, had built them this temporary haven. Elena moved to the main console. Her fingers, usually so precise with syringes and IVs, now navigated a holographic interface. Vargas watched, his expression a mixture of professional interest and dawning respect. With a few commands, the monitors flickered to life, displaying a complex, color-coded flowchart. Miguel's master plan. A phased data release. A final option button, glowing ominously red. Then, a face appeared on the central screen, Miguel. His eyes, once so full of laughter, now held a weary resolve. His voice, familiar yet distant, filled the bunker. "Elena, if you're seeing this, then I'm gone. I designed this for you. I trusted your intellect, your moral compass, to activate it." Elena's breath hitched. Grief, sharp and unexpected, twisted with a fierce pride. Miguel hadn't just loved her. He had believed in her. Vargas, ever the tactician, saw the brilliance of the plan, but Elena felt the immense, personal weight of the choice Miguel had left her. Vargas, his face grim, quickly tapped into the external feeds. News channels blared across several monitors, a chaotic mosaic of breaking stories. Fragmented reports of financial irregularities, political scandals, and a wave of arrests were already being suppressed, scrubbed from online platforms. The Blackwood Syndicate was fighting back, trying to control the narrative, to bury the truth. Then, a familiar, chillingly composed face filled a large screen. Eleanor Blackwood. She stood before a phalanx of microphones, denying everything with an icy calm, projecting an image of unshakable authority, baseless allegations. She purred, her voice dripping with practiced indignation. Elena's stomach churned. The woman who had orchestrated Miguel's murder, who now hunted her and Sofia, was playing the wronged victim. Elena's anger, cold and sharp, solidified into an unyielding determination to shatter that facade. In a quiet corner of the bunker, Elena clutched a secured disposable phone. Her heart hammered a frantic rhythm against her ribs as she made a brief, encrypted call to Dr. Alvarez. "Sofia? Is she okay?" The whispered confirmation that her daughter was safe brought a wave of profound, aching relief, quickly followed by the sharp, terrifying fear that she might never hold Sofia again. A single tear traced a path down her cheek as she clutched a small, worn photo of Sofia. This fear, though, didn't paralyze her. It sharpened her resolve. Sofia's innocent face, her bright future, was the only thing that mattered. Back at the main console, Elena and Vargas delved deeper into Miguel's systems. Elena's eyes widened as she uncovered not just data, but advanced cyber warfare tools, sophisticated algorithms, and a sprawling network of hidden cameras woven into the city's infrastructure. "He built this place to fight back," she murmured, a new kind of power igniting within her. Combining Miguel's tech with her intimate knowledge of the city's streets, its forgotten corners from years of night shifts, Elena proposed a daring plan. "We don't wait for them to come for us," she declared, pointing at a glowing city map. "We turn their own systems against them. We force them into the light. We bring the fight to Eleanor Blackwood." Vargas listened, a grim nod forming on his face. The battle was about to begin. The hidden command center hummed with a new kind of energy. Elena, her face illuminated by the glow of Miguel's monitors, felt a surge of exhilaration. This wasn't a defensive crouch. It was a strategic strike. Her fingers, usually precise in administering medication, now danced across a holographic interface, guided by Miguel's pre-programmed algorithms and her own sharp intuition. "Initiating Phase 1. She announced, her voice calm amidst the digital storm. Across the screens, lines of code flashed, then solidified into financial data. Elena watched, a subtle, almost imperceptible smile playing on her lips, as she infiltrated the Blackwood Syndicate's intricate financial networks, freezing assets, exposing shell corporations, and rerouting their illicit funds to a secure FBI account. "Confirmed, Elena." Director Vargas's voice cut through the air, a note of triumph in his usually stoic tone. "Their primary offshore holdings are locked down. Billions just vanished." The intellectual victory was palpable, a silent, powerful blow against an enemy that thought itself untouchable. Elena watched the city awaken, not to the usual hum of traffic, but to a cacophony of panicked reports. She had activated Miguel's timed data release, a digital bomb that had just exploded across every major news outlet and public social media platform. On a massive central screen, Eleanor Blackwood's composed face, once a symbol of unshakable power, flickered on a live newsfeed. Her carefully constructed public image was crumbling in real time. News anchors, their voices breathless with shock, reported on leaked documents detailing corruption, money laundering, and political payoffs. Protests erupted in digital space, then spilled onto the city streets, visible on other monitors showing live camera feeds. The sense of vindication was overwhelming, a tidal wave of justice washing over the city. "They're scrambling," Vargas murmured, watching the chaos unfold. Elena felt a quiet satisfaction. This wasn't just exposing them, it was unmasking them in front of the very people they exploited. Eleanor's horrified face, caught in a wide-angle shot on a jumbo screen above the city square, was a testament to the power of truth. The relative calm in the command center shattered as Dr. Anya Sharma's face appeared on a smaller, frantic feed. Her eyes, usually cold, now held a desperate, animalistic fear. "I'm losing the backups! They're wiping everything!" her voice shrieked over an intercepted comm channel. Elena, tracking Sharma's digital footprint, saw the mole's desperate attempt to remotely wipe Miguel's backup servers, trying to destroy the remaining evidence. "She's trying to scrub the last traces," Vargas observed, his expression grim. But Elena was already one step ahead. Miguel had anticipated this, building firewalls within firewalls, redundancies for every contingency. Sharma's frantic pleas to an unseen superior, revealing her deep, almost fanatical loyalty to the syndicate, confirmed what Elena had suspected. This wasn't just about money for Sharma. It was a twisted ideological commitment. Elena, her resolve hardening, initiated a final override, watching Sharma's digital attempts futilely crash against Miguel's impenetrable defenses. The mole's face on the screen contorted in a final, frustrated snarl before her feed went dark. The city transformed before Elena's eyes. Vargas's reports came in a steady stream, mass arrests, politicians and corrupt officials being led away in handcuffs, federal agents sweeping through previously untouchable offices. The Blackwood Syndicate's vast network, once a suffocating grip on the city, was unraveling at an astonishing pace. Traffic, once a symbol of the city's relentless grind, began to flow more freely as the corrupt infrastructure buckled and then slowly stabilized under federal oversight. Elena watched, a quiet sense of accomplishment settling over her. She saw news footage of police cars, flashing lights illuminating the faces of once powerful figures. It was a domino effect, each falling piece exposing another until the entire corrupt structure collapsed. The city, her city, was breathing again, free from the shadow of the Syndicate. The opulent penthouse, once Eleanor Blackwood's ivory tower, was now a scene of federal agents. Elena and Vargas entered, finding Eleanor disheveled but still defiant, her eyes blazing with a cold fury. "This is a mistake," Blackwood spat, her voice laced with arrogance. "A simple misunderstanding. I can offer you anything you desire." Elena, her presence calm but powerful, simply smiled. "Your reign is over, Eleanor." She pulled out a small, unassuming recording device Miguel had designed. "And your final act will be your confession." Blackwood's face twisted in rage, then resignation. As Elena activated the device, Eleanor Blackwood, the untouchable matriarch, confessed to Miguel's unfortunate accident, detailing his murder with chilling, clinical precision, unaware her every word was being captured. Elena felt a profound sense of catharsis, a cold, hard justice finally served. The hum of the servers had faded. Miguel's command center, once a hive of frantic activity, now lay quiet and still. Elena sat in the ergonomic chair, her body a profound ache, but her mind surprisingly clear. The mission was accomplished. Eleanor Blackwood and her entire rotten syndicate were behind bars, their empire dismantled, their secrets exposed. A deep, unfamiliar peace settled over Elena, a tranquility she hadn't felt since before the doll's cryptic whisper had shattered her mundane existence. Director Vargas stood before her, his usually stern face softened with a rare, genuine smile. "Elena," he began, his voice low with respect, "what you did, what you accomplished, it goes beyond anything we could have hoped for. Miguel would be incredibly proud. We all are." He paused, his gaze drifting to a small, framed photo Elena had placed on the console, Miguel's kind, earnest face. "He made a significant sacrifice, but his legacy will live on, thanks to you." Elena offered a faint smile, her eyes still on Miguel's image. She had avenged him, she had honored him. And somehow, she knew, he was finally at peace. The new house was modest, chosen for its quiet neighborhood, its sun-drenched rooms, and the laughter that echoed from the nearby school playground. It wasn't the opulent mansion the Blackwoods had flaunted, but it was theirs. And it was safe. Elena watched Sofia sleep, her daughter's small chest rising and falling with peaceful innocence. A wave of overwhelming love washed over her, thick and potent, chasing away the last vestiges of fear and exhaustion. Sofia stirred, her eyes fluttering open. "Mommy?" she mumbled, her voice thick with sleep. Elena knelt by the bed, pulling her daughter into a tight embrace. "My amor," she whispered, burying her face in Sofia's soft hair. "It's over. Everything is going to be okay now. We're safe." Sofia, sensing the profound relief emanating from her mother, clung back, her small arms wrapping around Elena's neck. "Forever?" she asked, her voice muffled against Elena's shoulder. Elena pulled back slightly, her eyes brimming with tears, but her smile was wide and genuine. "Forever," she promised, a future free from shadows, a life built on resilience and love stretching out before them. Weeks later, a small, dignified memorial was held for Miguel. A simple gravestone, etched with his name and the words "A Man of Courage," stood amidst a patch of wildflowers. Elena and Sofia stood beside Director Vargas and Dr. Alvarez, the four of them a silent testament to Miguel's true impact. Vargas spoke first, his voice resonating with genuine admiration. Miguel Ramirez was a hero. He saw the darkness and he chose to fight it, even when it cost him everything. Elena held Sofia's hand, her gaze fixed on the gravestone. She had once thought Miguel left her with nothing, a broke man who had squandered their future. But now she understood. His true inheritance wasn't money. It was the fierce, unwavering love that had driven him to protect his family, to meticulously plan his failsafe, to expose a vast, corrupt network. It was his foresight, his intellect, and his unyielding hope for a better world for Sofia. He had given her the tools, but he had also shown her the strength she didn't know she possessed. Elena placed a single white rose on the gravestone, a quiet, Bittersweet farewell. The office of the Blackwood Foundation was a study in modern purpose. Sleek lines, natural light, and a vibrant energy filled the space. The recovered assets of the once feared syndicate were now channeled into something righteous. Elena, no longer the weary night shift nurse, sat at a large, polished desk, her posture confident, her eyes shining with a new purpose. Our first initiative, Elena announced to the small, dedicated board, which included Director Vargas and Dr. Alvarez, will be to establish community clinics and legal aid for single parents struggling against systemic corruption. We'll also fund educational programs to empower the next generation. Beside her, Sofia, now a bright-eyed 8-year-old, sat with a stack of documents, her small face serious as she reviewed the budget proposals. "And we need to make sure the playground equipment at the community center is safe, Mom," Sofia added, her voice clear. Elena smiled, a proud warmth spreading through her. Sofia, a junior advisor, was already embodying the Foundation's core mission. Later that evening, in Sofia's brightly lit room, the talking doll sat on a shelf, its plastic smile unchanging. Sofia, a little older now, had placed a small, hand-drawn picture of herself and Elena hugging, inside the doll's secret compartment. Elena watched, a gentle smile on her face. Her daughter understood, not fully, not yet, but enough to grasp the doll's significance. Elena reached out, retrieving the picture and tucked a new, simpler note inside the doll. "You are stronger than you know. Pass it on." She watched Sofia, who was now carefully arranging her other toys. The lessons learned through fire and shadow would shape her daughter, not into a fighter of battles, but into a compassionate, powerful individual who understood the true weight of justice and the quiet strength of empathy. The doll, the unassuming toy that had started it all, now held a new message, a beacon of hope for a new generation. Elena knew Sofia would carry that message forward, just as she had. Elena Rodriguez, no longer bound by the relentless rhythm of night shifts, moved with a different kind of purpose through the bustling halls of the new community clinic. Sunlight streamed through tall windows, illuminating the vibrant artwork Sofia had helped choose for the waiting areas. It was a stark contrast to the sterile, impersonal hospitals where she'd once felt like a cog in a machine. Now, as a volunteer nurse and a driving force behind the Blackwood Foundation, Elena healed her community with a broader impact. Dr. Alvarez, his face lined with wisdom and a gentle smile, found her organizing supplies. "Still on the front lines, Elena?" he chuckled, his eyes twinkling. "You've gone from saving lives one patient at a time to transforming an entire city. Richard would be proud, and Miguel too." Elena returned his smile, a quiet strength radiating from her. "The fight for justice starts with caring for people, Doctor. That's a lesson I'll never forget." Later that week, Elena found herself drawn to a small, unassuming cafe, a place eerily similar to the one where she'd once worked a second job, pouring coffee to make ends meet. A young woman, no older than Elena had been then, juggled 3 tables, her movements quick but weary. A baby carrier, discreetly tucked behind the counter, confirmed Elena's silent assessment. The struggles were universal. Elena ordered a simple coffee, observing the waitress with a profound sense of empathy. As she prepared to leave, she placed a crisp $100 bill on the table, a generous tip. Beneath it, she tucked a small, folded note, its edges softened from years in her wallet. It was the original cryptic message from Sofia's doll, now a symbol of hope. The waitress, exhausted, picked up the money, then unfolded the note. Elena watched as confusion gave way to a flicker of something new in her tired eyes. A spark of curiosity, a whisper of possibility. From the panoramic windows of the Blackwood Foundation's new headquarters, Elena looked out over the city. It was no longer the same city shrouded in the syndicate's silent grip. New community centers, once impossible under Blackwood's influence, now thrived. Small businesses, no longer suffocated by corruption, bloomed on every corner. The air felt lighter, cleaner, infused with a renewed sense of hope and possibility. Elena traced the city's skyline with her gaze, a profound sense of accomplishment settling over her. She remembered the fear, the desperation, the overwhelming odds. But one woman's courage, fueled by a fierce love for her child, and the ghost of a brave man, had changed everything. The city below stood as a living testament to Miguel's sacrifice and Elena's unwavering resolve. Late that night, in the quiet embrace of her new home, Elena sat in her living room, the soft glow of a reading lamp her only companion. Sofia slept soundly in her room, a world away from hidden bunkers and ruthless syndicates. The talking doll, now a cherished relic, sat on a shelf, its plastic smile a silent reminder of how it all began. Elena knew the fight against injustice was never truly over. There would always be new shadows, new battles to wage. But she was no longer afraid. The weary nurse who once feared the future had found her voice, her strength, and her enduring purpose. She had faced the darkness and emerged a beacon of hope, ready for whatever unseen battles lay ahead. Years later, a confident young woman stood at the podium of a packed auditorium, her voice clear and strong. Sofia, now a junior advisor for the Blackwood Foundation, advocated for justice and empowerment, her words echoing her mother's ethos. Elena watched from the audience, Director Vargas and Dr. Alvarez beside her, a proud smile gracing her lips. On a screen behind Sofia, prominently displayed, was the framed image of the original cryptic note, the string of numbers and letters that had started it all. Elena's journey, sparked by a simple doll and a desperate message, had transformed her from a night shift nurse into an extraordinary hero. It had inspired a new generation, proving that sometimes the most ordinary people discover they are capable of the most extraordinary things, leaving a legacy of hope that would continue to change the world.